So we're going to talk about sleep today. It's one of the 6 keys that extend health span. Included in the topics will be the sleep chronotypes. That's the wiring on the DNA that determines whether a person is a night owl, an early bird, or somewhere in between, and how sleep changes over time. How you might be one way as a teenager, but eventually the sleep changes to where you have a specific amount of time you need to sleep as you reach adulthood in the early 20s. And then finally, just some of the sleep benefits. And I'm going to go over some studies talking about how it creates learning and how to use it to become a creative genius. So they call this the clock gene, the sleep chronotypes. And there's 2 population extremes. These are people that are very much on one end or the other of this curve. Very few people are extreme. The early birds, they always get sleepy around 9 or 10. They can't work in the evening, but they can work very well early in the morning. Night owls are those people that have a very difficult time falling asleep before midnight or even 2 a.m. And they have a very difficult time getting up early. Okay, so if people are at either end of this bell curve, night owls or early birds, they tend to be more genetically hardwired. Like I said, they're very small in the population. Usually the population is within the middle of this bell curve. And those people that are in the bell curve are more adaptable to daylight savings time, shifts in sleep routines, challenges with travel. So think about whether you would consider yourself a night owl, an early bird, or somewhere in between. What this means is that it affects your life choices. So an early bird would choose jobs or early morning classes in college. Night owls would need to choose evening jobs or nighttime jobs, and then choose those afternoon or evening classes in college. Also considering meetings, major life decisions. So recognizing your tendency toward either being a night owl or an early bird is important to recognize. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you are on one end of the spectrum or the other, you can't force yourself to be an early bird if you've got a strict night owl chronotype. Your sleep changes with time. So a newborn baby doesn't have that circadian rhythm developed. And so they're on and off and on and off all throughout the day and night. Very challenging to parents. So they need a lot of sleep. Unfortunately, it's not, unfortunately for the parent, it's not all at one time. So about every 3 hours, they're waking, eating, pooping, peeing, and back to bed. Toddlers up to teenagers are experiencing a very rapid growth of their brain and the body, and they require up to 13 hours of sleep per night. That's why, daycare early in the morning, that kind of thing is challenging for children, although a real emphasis towards nap time is helpful. Teenagers teenagers are undergoing these hormonal shifts that are changing the circadian rhythm. So they have this tendency to stay up late and sleep in later. So you can't determine whether you're a night owl when you're a teenager, because all teenagers have this problem, or challenge, I should say. So they end up staying up late, they sleep in later, they can sleep up to 10 hours per night. And then that starts to shift as they reach their 20s. What's important to understand with teenagers is that they need sleep desperately because they're getting their growth hormones and their pubertal hormones, the testosterone and estrogen, only during these surges during this very deep sleep. So during puberty, they get a pulse of luteinizing hormone, which is a precursor to testosterone and insulin. And they've shown that it only happens during this deep sleep. And so the shortened sleep, they would miss these bursts of deep sleep throughout the night, and they'd miss this hormone production that is very important for puberty. All right, so on the other end of the spectrum, sleep deprivation is an endocrine disruptor. It results in increasing adipose tissue deposition, increased acne, and also behavioral disturbances and learning disorders for all ages. Now for adults, we need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. And that is non-negotiable, and it's with very rare exceptions. And also with the thing with sleep, it's not like the bank. You can't sleep a lot in the weekends and make up for lost sleep during the week. So it's a very standard expectation that your body will need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. The geriatric population needs about the same, between 7 and 8 hours of sleep. They have much more difficulty with sleep because of their pineal glands stop producing as much melatonin. So they have a more difficult time getting to sleep, but they still need that same amount of sleep. So case presentation: elderly grandparent, lives alone and seldom goes outside. Sleeping during the day and having difficulty sleeping at night. What are your recommendations? So remember, on the suprachiasmatic nucleus, to reset that circadian clock, you would need to get at least 30 minutes of sun exposure during the day. So get outside in the afternoons, get that sun exposure, encourage a lot of physical activity, and avoid blue light 3 hours before bedtime. So not falling asleep in front of the television. And then the other recommendation is a good quality melatonin, 3 milligrams to 6 milligrams max, 30 minutes before bed. To review about the importance of light, light reaches the suprachiasmatic nucleus and synchronizes the body clocks, including the pineal gland. So that's why it's important to get outside at least for 30 minutes. And that would not only be in the morning, but it'd also be in the afternoon. So why is quality sleep so important for the geriatric population? Is it A, prevention of amyloid plaque buildup in the brain? That's a precursor to dementia. prevention of depression, or both? And the truth is, it's both. The thing about sleep is that these stages don't happen at particular times during the night. They happen all during the night, scattered throughout the night. The two main stages of sleep that I want to address, actually the two stages of sleep that I follow personally, are this NREM or non-REM, which is deep sleep. So NREM means non-rapid eye movement. This is a very deep sleep. It's a part of sleep where it's really difficult to wake somebody up. And then there's rapid eye movement, REM. That's the dream sleep. And again, these are all mixed throughout the night. During this deep sleep, the lymphatic system, it's a type of lymphatic system that is within the brain. Since the lymphatic system does not extend into the brain has its own cleanup system that uses cerebral spinal fluid. And it's only during that exact type of sleep, this really deep sleep, that your brain cells shrink and that CSF is able to flow between the cells and pick up the metabolic waste. The lymphatic system showing on top in the green, that is for the body, so for the all throughout the tissues of the body, but it is not part of the brain. So the lymphatic system is only for the brain. The CSF is for the brain. And for lymphatic systems going on 24 hours a day, but the lymphatic system is only during deep sleep. So this is a depiction showing the lymphatic system, the body's lymphatic system, and how the brain is completely excluded. So the body's lymphatic system is picking up all this tissue waste, dumping into the vascular system, and going through the kidneys as urine. Now, if you were to ask why there wouldn't be a lymphatic system within the brain is surrounded by this cranium, a very closed system. It doesn't allow for swelling, where the rest of the body can swell. So if you get an infection or an injury, the lymphatic system will bring white blood cells and swelling and heat. And so that's the way it cleans up. But the brain is completely enclosed and it does not allow for expansion. So this shows what happens during deep sleep. This is a cross-section showing the skull, the dura, the cerebral spinal fluid, and these brain cells shrinking during this very deep sleep. All right, let's talk about a couple really great things you can get from sleep. One of the things is how to become a creative genius, and you can do that overnight. The case presentation is Mendeleev. He's the Russian chemist who developed the periodic table of the elements. So he had been collecting all these elements, and he was trying desperately to figure out how he can organize them in a very clear, understandable manner. So his inspiration came waking up one morning in 1867. And it came to him with his brain working all during the night, which it does. Your brain never stops working. Realized that the physical and chemical properties were related by their anatomic mass in a periodic way. And he was able to arrange them. And that came to him with his brain sleeping on it. The clinical research on this is very interesting, and this has been going on over the last several years. that your REM sleep is about 25% of your sleep time and your deep sleep is 20%. So the two stages of sleep start interacting during the night. And since the brain is never sleeping, these memories and the creativity start combining to form solutions. So 8 hours of high quality sleep replays your memories, mixes with your creative side, and that's how you start coming up with ideas. So strategies, hacking your subconscious mind, how to solve problems in your sleep. So if you were to come up with some recommendations, you would maximize your sleep quality and quantity. You would keep a notebook next to your bed, and anything that comes to mind as you're falling asleep, you can write them down, or if you wake up during the night, have that notebook next to you to write them down, or first thing in the morning, of course. Write down what your goals are and ask specific questions like Mendeleev. So in summary, we talked about the sleep chronotypes. Most of us, by and large, are right in the middle and adjustable. We have sleep requirements by age. So just because you're 18 or 19 and you've been sleeping 13 hours a day doesn't mean that's going to stay with you for life. We talked about the sleep stages, how they change throughout the night. So cutting short your sleep duration will cut out some of those important sleep stages. And those sleep stages are needed for that creativity, for ideas, coming up with solutions, and actually making life decisions, of course. I personally have a sleep ring that monitors my quality of sleep during the night. It tells me how long I've slept, actually completely been asleep, and then it measures these sleep stages. So the two stages that I've highlighted here are the REM sleep in this lighter purple, and then the deep sleep in the darker purple. And you can see how this is, coming up at any time during the night, and the REM sleep partly for creativity, for memories, for recall. So here, if I cut my sleep short, if I get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'll miss a significant amount of REM sleep. So waste management, we went over that. That's the time when cleanup of metabolic waste. And then the brain activity, NREM or deep sleep, about 20% of sleep time, hormonal pulses during this deep sleep. REM sleep's 25%. Another important thing I want to point out is that it's during this REM sleep that you get an emotional rebalancing. You notice how many times you've gone to sleep upset about something, disturbed about something, and you think, oh, I need to fix this problem. I need to make it right or I can't sleep. Well, the fact is that it's during the night that things get fixed and the emotional rebalancing happens. So that's why people with depression need to consider the importance of high quality sleep. And by the way, that does not include medications. The only type of medications that's really recommended would be melatonin if you're an older person, but the sleep medications can actually disrupt these patterns. And even though you feel like you've gotten sleep, most likely you're going to lose out on some of this NREM or REM sleep. So in closing, I would say never to go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. Quote by Thomas Edison. Any questions, comments, please leave them in the comment section. Thank you.